you so much for being with me today for this episode of Inventing in America, because you know what? America invents, and we love to talk to these inventors and actually see what they're working on. And in some cases have been for a long time. My guest today is Damon Melcho.
Melcho.
Melcho. All right. I knew there was a vowel there. All right. And he is the inventor of extreme bait. Now, if you are a fisherman, you know bait, but if you are a professional fisherman, you know the challenges of keeping bait fresh. And Damon solved the problem. So Damon, what is extreme bait?
So extreme bait tanks has really evolved into, well, think about Build-A-Bear. Forever and a day, everybody has built bait tanks, and they were more of a one size fits all. You get the tank and you have to modify it to suit whatever it is you're trying to accomplish on that particular day. And once I started extreme bait tanks, I started getting on a lot of boats. And while we're sitting there waiting for the line to go down, these are guys in the moment that have struggled with whatever their particular situation is. And they're like, hey, by the way, can you do this, or that? And I'm like, that's a very good question. So I'd bring that back to our team here. And I said, hey, this is what I'm being asked about. What can we do? And what that turned into was not everybody's needs are the same. And I base it on what I call the 4 factors, because we sell from coast to coast, 48 states outside the boundaries of the United States. And the 4 factors are the region of the bait, the size, the quantity, and the type. So depending on where you are, what kind of bait you have, how many and how big, how can extreme bait tanks service that bait? So after conversations, we build a tank. So we have our basic footprint of tanks, anywhere from 11-gallon up to 400-gallon bait tanks. And also factored into that is not just your boat. Some of these guys transport bait from point A to point B in the back of their truck. You have dock tanks where people have a dock and they want their own batch of bait that they can bait up and fish for several days, if not a couple weeks. And they don't have to rely on getting up at 2 or 3 in the morning and going to catch bait. Now they can just wake up, they've got their own bait, they transfer over to their boat and go. And you have bait and tackle stores and marinas that sell bait. So these are guys that buy bait once a week and they sell out of that tank all week long. So we've really, in my opinion, accomplished every check on the list of no matter who you are, where you are, and what you want to do, we can help you get it done.
Yeah, that's amazing. I grew up fishing, all right, but it was, a worm on a hook and catching trout and going home and eating the trout. So we never really had to worry about, different kinds of bait. I mean, worms live in dirt, so, we were good to go. So when you're talking about the different kinds of bait and the size, I think most consumers don't even realize that you have to deal with some extreme sizes.
Oh, it's crazy. So obviously, anyone that fishes with worms probably knows minnows, right? And we're talking small baits, but that's a fish that swims that you can't just they're going to die if you don't manage and handle them properly. But to show the opposite extreme, when you start getting into some big baits in freshwater, like down there where you live, and you're in an amazing chain of lakes and down there in Tennessee. And there's a bait called skipjack, and those things can get 18 to 22 inches, and we're talking 2-3 pounders for this big striper. But then once we started getting offshore, we learned that anything that swims is eaten by something, and you're talking big baits there too as well.
It's amazing because, like I said, that's a whole world out there that most of us never really see. It's minnows and worms. So, as you've gone out, then what you started with, how has it changed?
Enormously. So when I started, our main market was the Carolinas, Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio. But as we started to understand what we were actually capable of as far as what we could keep, and we started getting offshore, we have not met a bait that we cannot keep alive. And so that's why our catchphrase, our motto is all baits, all sizes, fresh and salt water. So when somebody's looking for a bait tank, I have a conversation just like we are. I ask my questions as far as the space on the boat, what we call the footprint, what kind of bait, how many, how big, and we can tailor that tank, that order to exactly what it is you're looking to accomplish.
So all of yours are individual. You're based, each one then is based on what the client needs.
Yeah. So it's turned into a custom fabrication business for bait tanks. 100%. We sent out 30 tanks in the last 2 weeks, and we were just sort of looking at talking about it amongst ourselves. Not one tank was identical to the other. There was always something, maybe just a little bit different, where it be the types of pumps, the wiring with the drain placement. Like I'm working with a guy today on in down in Florida. I need to know how the tank goes on your dock, so I know where the drains go, where the power source is, so I can run the wires. You don't want a tank where you got to run wires all the way around and you're tripping over them. I want to give you the shortest distance to your power source, and you don't want the tank draining onto your dock. We can drain it off the edge based on how it's going to sink against the rail on your dock. So absolutely.
You know, it was really fun because when I had you, met you through Kevin Cody, and you know, known Kevin now for a few years, and had you on the radio. All right. And Mike Ryan saw your name and he goes, "Is this the Extreme Bait guy? I know him."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
sold his products. He was so excited to see you and reconnect. So I was really glad you guys were able to have a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. As big as the fishing industry is, it's really small in some aspects. And here it is. Ryan, I know Ryan. Ryan and I have been dealt business to business for the last 5, 6 years. So, and here we got to get reconnected thanks to you.
So it was, I know he was real excited to visit with you, and he loves your product. And so I was, pleased that the circles, like you said, it circles back around. It's like, oh, I know him. And so, that was really good. So show us what it is.
I give you a tour of our shop.
Please do.
Okay. So I want to tell you what's pretty cool about this. This is the only business that I know of that's all under one roof. So not only can we do what we do, and again, no one does custom fabrication, we have it all at our fingertips, which means we don't have to rely on anybody to get the job done. So I'm going to do a flip screen here and take you into the lobby. All right, see if I can do this without dropping down. So here we just have some what we call inventory tanks. So Bass Pro, Cabela's, West Marine, they sell for us. So when we get an order, we'll take the tank, box it up, and ship it out. We have some inventory tanks, and this is an example of our custom fabrication. So I was working with a boat manufacturer to replace their live well. Everybody loves their boats, but I've yet to meet anybody that likes their live well. They just pump water in, they can't keep fish. So I said, why can't I build a live well as an insert in lieu of their live well that does everything that Extreme does? So this was a prototype, and we've got a couple out there, and they've been amazing. And what's unique about it is not only is it a live well for a big fish, so the most live wells are used if you catch a striper or catfish, you keep it alive, especially if you're a tournament guy. You would have to have a live weigh in, and it's all what they call CPR. So this will do that. Plus, we rounded out the corners. You can't have square corners in a live well and keep bait because they get hung up in the corner. So anyway, that's our dual purpose live well. And then I'll walk you out through the
bait. Go ahead. You've got bait that you keep alive, but then when they're out fishing, do they have catches that they have to keep alive?
So it just depends on who they are. So if they're in a tournament, most tournaments want to have a live weigh-in. They're all about health, the health of the fish. And especially if a tournament rolls in on a lake, a lot of the locals aren't happy about that because they are like, hey, this is our lake, you're killing our fish. So the tournaments will go through great detail to make sure that the fish is released healthier than when they caught it. So that way there's no fish kill. And while we're out here, so this one's going out to Louisiana. So if we have a larger tank, we crate them up. We build a small house around them. The semi comes in, we load them up. So this one's ready for pickup today. And this is actually a 2-tank system the bottom one is his transportation tank. So he'll put that in the back of his truck, and this one's for his boat. So once he transfers bait back to the home, he has bait for the week or the month or what have you. Okay, so this is where all the magic happens. And I'll start you out and I'll come back to these two tanks. But we order all of our materials in what I call flats, half inch and eighth inch material. So the half inch makes up the bottoms, the floor of the tank and the lids. And our eighth inch material is our walls. So we cut it. I have a computer guy. We have our standard sizes. And you can sort of see here how everything is routed out. And this is on the half inch. And these lines are where the eighth inch walls drop in. And we have our tops, bottoms, and lids. And then we start the welding process over here. But it's done on this router. So it's
Wow.
amazing. It's amazing what this thing will do. We were talking about technology before we went live. This machine will cut, I believe, to the 67th or 62nd thousandth of an inch.
Wow.
Yeah. So very important to have everything just perfect once it's cut. The walls are placed here, and then we basically make round things out of square circles. So here's the inner wall. We welded it into the circle, and then that eighth inch will drop down into that line. We weld it inside and out, water test it to ensure that we have a watertight weld, and then we place the second wall on, and that's what this batch of tanks is ready for, is the first wall. And once that wall is put in, we then weld the second wall,
Okay.
and we have a 1 inch air pocket. That 1 inch air pocket serves as our insulator. So if anyone ever asks you about are our tanks insulated, they are, with a 1 inch air pocket. And here's the science behind it. Heat prefers a solid surface to transfer through. When you have a 1 inch air pocket, that breaks up the transfer of heat. So once you fill your tank with whatever temperature water you put in, this allows you to get through the day without your tank heating up. That
Oh,
makes sense?
oh, absolutely. And
Yeah,
that was one of the things I was going to ask you is that, live fish need a particular temperature to survive. And I would imagine that the temperature of the water also impacts the oxygen in the water.
totally. So there's two parts to what you just said. So the temperature is probably as critical as anything. And the biggest mistake that people will make, especially if they're using lake water to fill their tank, if you've got a bait like here on Lake Cumberland, our L-wise are a 68, 70-degree bait. Well, if the surface temperatures start to get 75, 80, 85 degrees and you're filling your tank with that water and you're catching a 68-degree bait and putting them in 75, 80-degree water, I don't care what tank you have, you're not going to get very far with that bait.
Yeah.
So every conversation I have with customers is, what's your water source? Is it tap water, well water, lake water? Do you know what the temperature is? Do you know what the temperature of your bait? So they can start off, no matter what tank they have, whether it's an extreme bait tank or something they already have, I'll help them understand water temperature is crucial. And going back to the dissolved oxygen, the whole dissolved oxygen is colder water. Colder water will hold dissolved oxygen better. Okay. But the way our systems work, and this is pretty crazy, the warmer water, we can still help keep bait. So, for example, in the event you're 2, 3 days in and that water starts to climb, people call me and said, I don't understand. My bait is still doing amazing. Well, they've acclimated to that slow transition of warmer water. But our Venturis, the Danco Venturi that I'm going to tell you about later, continuously, constantly infuses air into that water so that dissolved oxygen is still high, but at a safe level, even in the warmer water. And then we can ice it down, chill it down, water change it down to get that water temperature back to where it should be. So when you drop bait into the on the hook, you're not killing them on the hook.
All right. How did you learn all this?
Um, I self-taught, getting on a lot of boats, talking to a lot of people. So just like I take extreme pride in every bit of our tank, I want to know the mechanics of it. And I've learned it. So I can tell you like minnows are 55, 60-degree bait, alewives 68, 70 to 70, gizzard shad 75 to 78. And I just learn and talk. And I care enough about the success of the tank to want to know these numbers. So you're not buying a tank that you're like, again, whether it's mine or yours or somebody else's, how come this isn't working? I can usually help you nail it down to exactly what you need to be doing different. Not necessarily what you're doing wrong, but what you could be doing better to be more successful for a day on the lake.
And but when you've got, then it's like, oh, this is why they're doing better. This is what's going on. You become now their go-to guy and the expert, and they want to buy from you because you are the expert, as opposed to just a salesman. It's like, I don't know why it works that way.
Yeah, 100%. And not only to during the sell process when they're purchasing that tank, but I make sure everybody has my contact information. So if they once they have water in the tank, bait in the tank, and they're having an issue, they can call me and we can step through that little checklist to find out, what do they need to be doing different.
Excellent. So what's next? What have you got coming on board next? No
Well,
pun intended.
I'm gonna walk back, and while I'm doing that, I'll show you just one more thing. So these are two tanks that we're getting ready to ship out, a 65 and a 50-gallon. And this one's going to the state of Oregon for actually an Indian tribe, believe it or not, and
Okay.
then down to Georgia. So this is the conversation I have, because you can see, there's different sizes. So we got to make sure that if you're going to get a 65, it fits on your boat. You got black versus white. Black is versus light. This particular gentleman didn't want that, so we don't do that. And that's that 1/8 inch wall. So that's how we change the colors out inside the walls based on the material that we use the material to put that inside wall in to accomplish that goal. It's not paint. It's not a layer. It's actual material that's specially ordered for that purpose. And then here's where I'm talking about drain placement, different sizes of drains where they go on the tank. And this was a neat little feature, that hose there.
Yeah.
So this is what we call a pole. So they're going to take their truck, back it up. This will go in the back of their pickup. This hose will connect here. They power it up with a 12-volt battery. They drop this off the boat ramp, and they're able to pull river water into their tank. So that's their way of filling their tank.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So what's new? I'm gonna flip you back. There's a part in our tank that's magical, and it's all about the oxygen. So our tanks do three things. They circulate, filter, and oxygenate the water. If you don't have the oxygen or the dissolved oxygen, you do not have a bait tank. So get this set back up. So Extreme Bait Tanks is now part of Danco Venturi's. And these are the magic that these connect to the pump. So when that filtered water hits the bottom of the filter in that pump, and that water is being introduced back over to the bait, this little piece is designed with an airline that comes out, so it drafts clean air into the water and breaks it up microscopically. And that's what dissolved oxygen is all about.
Yeah. Huh.
And this comes in two styles, what they call an inline and a bulkhead. So this would actually attach to the bulkhead, and that would be the water out into the bait area, or we can build it into the line. So no matter how you introduce that back over to the bait, this will get the oxygen in the water.
It's fascinating. I've enjoyed, learning more about this. Give everybody your website.
ExtremeBaitTanks.com. No E in extreme, just ExtremeBaitTanks.com.
And when we get this posted, we will make sure that we include your website so that people can find you. And if they've got any questions, if you're out there and you are a fisherman looking to be a fisherman and you're using live bait, Extreme Bait Tanks is what you need to be successful. And Damon can answer all your questions. He is the expert on making sure that you do it right. Damon, thanks so much for being with me today. I can't wait to have you on the radio again. And oh yeah, Mondays are always coming up. So I look forward to having you on.
Very good.
Anything else you want to say in closing out?
Yeah. So talking about Made in America, we've got a new product my wife's doing, Bear Bird. I think you know a little bit about it by now, but we can pick up that conversation on another day if you'd like to talk a little bit about all natural lotion.
I would. I just got my samples this morning. Oh, Lordy, it smells so good and it feels so good. So we'll talk about that another time and see if we can't get your beautiful wife to be on camera as well.
It's going to take both of us because she's a little camera, or in this case, phone shy.
There you go. All right, we'll work on it. We'll work on it. So everybody enjoy extremebaittanks.com, and we will be back with a ladies product in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. We will be back next week with more stories on getting products from mind to market. We will have new inventors and industry experts. So join us and have a wonderful week.